The other day I was talking to a friend of mine about movies. And I was explaining to her, I was giving her the plot of a movie that I had recently watched about the DEA and the CIA versus the cartels in Mexico. And it was about drugs and drug trafficking. And she said, why do people use drugs? Because she lives in South Korea, and in South Korea, not a lot of people do drugs. In fact, if you use drugs recreationally, the punishment is huge. And she was trying to understand why so many American people do drugs, as depicted in the movies. And I thought about it, and I said, well, drugs make people feel good. Now, I'm not recommending you do drugs, but that's the shorthand answer. Drugs make people feel good. But on a bigger scale, that's the reason we do anything. That's the reason humans do anything, because it makes us feel good. We are programmed with a huge collection of instincts, and these instincts compel our behavior. And to do behavior to keep us alive, to keep our species alive. And the things that we need to do to keep ourselves alive, to keep our species alive, feels good. The two most important things to keep a species alive, to keep an individual alive, is food and sex. And eating feels really good. Having sex feels really good. All of the things that might lead to sex, like meeting people, talking to people, getting to know somebody, building a relationship, all these things feel good. So a very shorthand way of understanding anybody's motivation is everybody is compelled to go after good feelings or to go after happiness. Now, sometimes we chase happiness in the short term and we run around in circles, or other times we chase happiness in the long term. If you're sitting on the couch and you're going to watch one more streaming episode of your favorite show, and you should get up and do something productive, but you don't, you're kind of chasing short-term happiness. You're doing things that make you feel good in the present, in the short term, without really considering the long term. On the other hand, there's been plenty of times where you did things that were kind of unpleasant in the present, but led to a happier future. But either way, you're doing things that make you feel good. You're doing things that increase your pleasure. You're doing things that increase your happiness. Now, everybody has a collection of experiences and a strategy and a collection of desires of what they want. And whenever we do something to make ourselves feel good, it's very, very complicated from an internal state. Some people do things that, from a third-party perspective, looking at this other person, they are destroying their lives. But from inside their own brain, from inside their own experience, they're doing the best they can with their resources, with their map of the world, with their skills, with their strategy to make themselves feel good. So this is a fantastic shorthand way to think of human nature, human behavior. Humans do things to make us feel good. And if you can talk to people about what they want, that will make them feel good. If you can talk to people about what they want in the future, that will make them feel very good. If you can talk to people about the things they've done in the past that made them feel good, they will feel good talking about those things. If you can talk to people about the things they've done in the past that they are the most proud of, they will feel really good. This is an absolute gold mine for persuasion and seduction, because there's this thing called the copywriting effect. For a copywriter to sell something to somebody, they have to write a sales page. But all they really need to do in the sales page is describe the pain points as accurately as they can as a potential customer. Because as customers, if we're reading a sales page and this sales page describes our pain points in absolute, extreme, accurate detail, we will start to subconsciously assume that this is the solution to our problems. They don't even have to suggest that in the sales letter. We will just start to assume that this is the solution to your problems. Similarly, when you talk to people about what they want, when you expand their desire map, the way they represent their desires inside their brain, they will start to make subconscious assumptions that you have what they want, because that's another aspect of human nature. We make these connections in the world between two things that aren't necessarily connected. So when you're talking to them and they're starting to feel really good, they will start to subconsciously associate the things that they want, the things that they like, the things that they desire, the things that make them feel happy with you. So start to look at people now, not in terms of what you want, but in terms of what they want. We all have an ego that compels us to lead conversations with what we want. We all have an ego that makes us flex our importance whenever possible. Whenever we're in a conversation, our ego is always running in the background, trying to look for opportunities to flex our importance, to flex what we think should happen, to flex our opinions. But if you can turn this off, this will give them a two-sided happiness effect. One, they will be talking about things that they want, but two, there won't be any pushback from your ego, because almost always when we go through life and we try to talk to other people about what we want, we can't get much out of our head before we have to listen to what's inside their head. And this is always kind of a battle that goes on. Ego, 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 ego. But if you can turn off your ego, if you can expand the desires of other people, if you can expand their wants and needs, if you can expand their future desires, their future dreams, their future goals, you can make them feel absolutely fantastic, and they will start to subconsciously associate those fantastic future dreams with you. And you can either do this directly by saying just, hey, what do you want? Or you can just have a regular conversation and let the conversation unfold organically wherever it decides to unfold, and just be on the lookout for any conversational themes that lead off into positive futures for them, and expand those positive futures. Expand their desire maps. When you expand people's desire maps, they will feel good. And being able to make people feel good is a fantastic skill to have. Anybody can do this. Anybody can learn how to expand people's desires. It all starts with changing your orientation to how you see other people. Like I said before, most people look out into the world in terms of what they want. But if you can just turn that off temporarily and focus on what other people want, it's a lot easier to get what you want. But if you focus on what you want, if you lead with what you want, that's a very low probability strategy. But if you lead with what they want, it's a very high probability strategy. So look around at people whenever you're out in public and just start to imagine, what does that person want? What does that person dream about? What is their ideal relationship partner? What is their ideal living conditions? What is their ideal career? And train yourself to think in these terms and expand people's desires. Because the more you expand people's desires, the more they will associate those desires with you. Now, of course, you've done this before in the past. You've had conversations that went fantastically well, but they might have seemed kind of organic and spontaneous and unplanned. But now that you know this technique, now that you understand the secret of human nature, that we all chase our desires, you can do this deliberately. You can engineer any conversation in any direction that you want to. And it's much better to focus on other people's desires. Plenty of psychologists, plenty of sales trainers have told me that the best salespeople that they have, the best sales trainers, the best salespeople that they've trained, focus on the customer's desires. This is an easy way to make a lot of money in sales. And it's much easier to do than you think. The hardest part is turning off your ego, turning off your desire to flex your opinion, turning off your desire to flex what you want and just listen to what they want. Now, I know you love the idea of being around people who love and appreciate and respect you. And the easiest way to create that situation is to orientate yourself to focus on other people's desires. Expand their desires with your conversational skills. Think of any recent conversation you've had that have gone fantastically well, or one that you've seen happen before your eyes, someone else talking to someone. You can do that anytime you want to. You can create happiness anytime you want to. People that are focused on other people's desires are much more charismatic, are perceived as much more charismatic. And because you can do this, because you have done this, because you can do this even better in the future, you can be a charismatic word wizard superhero. Once you truly begin to realize how incredibly powerful and easy this conversational style is, you can make people fall in love with you everywhere you go. And it's not just about making a lot of money in sales. It's not just about making people feel fantastic. It's about having a true sense of agency over other people's behavior. Having a true sense of agency over other people's happiness, having a true sense of agency over other people's feelings towards you that you can essentially control at will. This is what lies on the other side of making a decision right now to switch your orientation from leading with your ego to leading with being curious about the desires of other people and expanding those desires so you have a much higher probability of getting your needs met in the long run. Try this technique out. It's easy to do. Do this with your friends. Practice on strangers. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. If you'd like to learn more about how to significantly improve your conversational skills, check out the links below. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.